What's the word? Fractions, decimals, and percents. 3 ways of describing the same thing. By now, you already know that the word fraction means part of a whole. In math, fraction specifically refers to how many equal parts there are in a whole. For example, 8/8 or 2/2. Fractions are represented like this, or like this. So in this case, you have 1 out of 3 parts, represented as 1/3, or as we call it, 1/3. Decimals and percent are easier ways to compare different fractions and numbers with each other, especially when you're working with different denominators. Both decimals and percentages are other ways of looking at a number in comparison to parts of one whole. Yes, you've learned about common denominators, but what if there was an easier way to work with different fractions? That's where decimals come in. Look at a fraction when it's written like this. Does that look familiar? How about if we add an equal sign? That's right. It's actually a division problem. You can calculate a fraction as a decimal by dividing the numerator by the denominator. Converting a fraction to a decimal is actually the answer you get when you solve a fraction as a division problem. It is another way of representing a part of the one whole. Just remember to put a decimal point after the ones place when you are dividing. Once you've mastered decimals, understanding percent is easy. Think about 100 out of 100 as being equal to 1 whole. We would write 1 whole as 1.0. Think back to when you learned about place value. How do you represent hundredths? It's this place right here. How many hundredths would 0.75 be? That's right, 75. In fact, some people would even say 75 hundredths as far as that number right there. Percent refers to how many out of 100 a number represents. With percent, we are talking about everything as if it's parts per 100. The way to convert decimals to percentage is to multiply the decimal by 100, or just move the decimal point back 2 places. So 0.75 becomes 75%. Just remember, whether you're representing a number as a fraction, decimal, or a percent, you're talking about the same quantity.